What up, y'all? Welcome to another glorious edition of the Robin Lundberg Show here on the Robin Lundberg YouTube channel. The X Machine, X gonna give it to you. I think I stream on Facebook too. Regardless, what up, y'all? What up, y'all? How are you doing? Big trade in the WNBA yesterday. I want to get to a little bit of a controversy in women's college basketball. I'll get to it as well. I think it's mostly over with now, but because there was a lot of discourse about it, I think worth having a conversation. These shows are for you. Of course, I do a lot of videos, and you can check those out. You can also follow Women's Fastbreak on SI, link in the description. And, you know, a lot of this stuff I'm covering in video form, but this is a vehicle to have real-time discussions, live discussions, conversations, and all those things, including on that blockbuster WNBA trade. I'm going to get to the comments later, but I did see a comment before I started about like blockbuster being a stretch for this trade. And if this is not a blockbuster trade, I do not know what the meaning of that would be. You have a two-time champion and three-time All-Star, former first-team All-WNBA player, former first number one overall pick in Kelsey Plum on the move. You have a six-time All-Star, former league-leading scorer, champion in Jewel Lloyd on the move. You have the number two pick in the draft on the move. I mean, trades don't get any bigger than that. The only way that the trade could be bigger than that is if like Caitlin Clark was involved or Asia Wilson was involved or, you know, I don't even, there's hardly nary a trade that can be bigger than that. And it should open the floodgates for the rest of the offseason if the reporting is to be believed. I kind of like the trade all around for everybody in a sense. You know, I think, look, if Plum wanted to leave the Aces, they could do a lot worse than Jewel Lloyd as her replacement. There are valid criticisms of Lloyd as a bit inefficient. You know, she's a high volume scorer, needs a lot of shots to get to her points, but nonetheless, she can get a bucket. And she was slide into a team that did win back-to-back championships before this season. Right? And you got Chelsea Gray still there as the point guard. You've got Jackie Young still there, even if they left her off the graphic. ESPN did. Asia's still there, of course. And the core of that team, Sans Plum, is still there. Now, it may hurt them to lose Kelsey Plum. I think Kelsey Plum may have been underrated and undervalued in this whole process. But nonetheless, in Lloyd, if you're going to lose Plum, you're getting a proven scorer in return. You're getting someone who competes in return. You know, I still wonder about their backcourt defense, which I think was a problem for them a year ago, but it makes sense for the Aces. The trade makes sense for the Aces, right? The Seattle Storm, the trade makes sense. I mean, Lloyd said she wants out. What are you going to do? She wants out, and you wind up with the number two pick in the draft? That's pretty damn good, right? I mean, usually when a player is forcing their way out, it lowers your leverage. So I think to see the Storm wind up with the second pick in the draft, that is a good return for them on the deal. And then finally, there's Kelsey Plum to the Sparks. And I'm on record saying I would have given up the number two pick for Kelsey Plum too. Look, potential is tantalizing. Everybody loves to fantasize about potential and what it could mean and what it could bring to a team. But a proven commodity is harder to find. And Kelsey Plum is a proven commodity. I mean, people act like she's a scrub or something. She still scored 18 points a game last year. And that's without that much of the offensive share. Now, you could say she benefits from the attention others draw, but at the same time, she very well may go off with the ball in her hands more. I mean, her numbers playing without Asia Wilson were very, very good. So I think Kelsey Plum gets a fresh start. She gets to be the face of a franchise. And this is someone who is a three-time All-Star, was a first-team All-WNBA player in 2022, was the number one pick in the draft, was the NCAA women's all-time leading scorer before Caitlin Clark broke that record. The Sparks already have youth. They just had draft picks. They just had two of them last year, big ones, Cam Brink and Rickea Jackson. So you add a veteran, proven star guard to that young core with Ray Burrell and De'Erica Hamby and whoever else winds up a part of the team when they actually tip off. And then there's the box office aspect of it, where Kelsey Plum is one of the more recognizable faces in the entire league. Probably top 5-ish. So you have to take into account that, the business aspect of these deals. I mean, it is the entertainment business. Your job is to not just win championships, put butts in seats, get people to watch. And I think Kelsey Plum will do that for Los Angeles. I mean, they've got a nice billboard team now. You put those faces up on a billboard. Now, there's been some other stuff that's come out since this trade went down, including the incentives for the Storm. And one thing to put a pin in that is kind of interesting is how many actual reporters keep bringing up the idea of Paige Bueckers not going to the Dallas Wings. And it is now a bit of a drumbeat behind the scenes. I don't know. I don't have any inside sources or information, but it seems to be smoke there. I mean, people keep saying she hasn't declared for the draft. She did say essentially this is her last year at UConn. But Annie Costable put it in her latest report with the Chicago Sun-Times. Kevin Pelton mentioned it as speculation for ESPN. Howard Megdal reported that she was going to pull in Eli Manning. So there is enough there to go, right? Things that make you go, And that is just something to think about. Because the idea or the thought process seems to be that the Storm moved into that position in part because they thought they could land Paige Bueckers, either putting a trade package together to get to number one. If Bueckers says she doesn't want to go to the Wings just outright and falls to number two, or if the Wings don't take her for that reason. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go down. Because it doesn't logically make sense to me, because if the Sparks wanted the same thing, they would have said, they could have been in the same position. And Paige in LA was all the rage for a while. But I can't ignore how many different people are now mentioning it. It's not as if it's just some random blog site or something. Like, it's worth monitoring. Let me put it that way. It's worth monitoring. And it keeps coming up. So put a pin in the Paige Bueckers not wanting to go to the Dallas Wings thing. I still don't it doesn't track with what I would think. What I've seen from Paige, my thought process has always been that she'd just go to Dallas and deal with it. But a lot of people must be hearing something similar for that to continue to be mentioned, put in print, bandied about. All right, the other thing over the weekend was the LSU-South Carolina game Friday night. Pretty good game, solid game. Competitive. They call it a rivalry game, though. I mean, ain't much of a rivalry. South Carolina been waxing them for a minute now. Kim Mulkey has never beaten Dawn Staley at South Carolina since she's been at LSU. But nonetheless, it didn't feel like a game that was going to have multiple days in the news cycle. Right? It felt like, okay, it was a cool game. Move on. Mulkey gave South Carolina their flowers afterwards. She said they're the best team in the country, despite the fact that they lost to UCLA. And then on Saturday, I want to say in the late afternoon, I saw a post on X about how during the game, a song from flau'jae Johnson's late father was played. Her late father, Jason Johnson, was killed before flau'jae was born. Really messed up story. Gunned down before she was born. And he went by the rapper name or the performing name Camouflage. I can't tell you I was familiar with his music. But nonetheless, it seems that he had an imprint regionally in certain spots, and some of his music still gets played or referenced to this day. And the DJ at the South Carolina game did indeed play, apparently, the instrumental to one of his songs called Cut Friends, I think was the name of it. And I was willing to, flau'jae. By the way, when I saw the original post, I thought, is this true? And then I saw flau'jae comment on it. So I thought, oh, it must be true because she said lame as hell or something to that effect. And then she wound up quote tweeting an Instagram story from the DJ, the South Carolina in-game DJ, DJ Tio, I believe, or I think she goes by Tio in some places. But regardless, the Gamecocks in-house DJ that sort of seemed to be poking fun at the idea that it was done to troll flau'jae and LSU. Now, I was trying to be generous and think, look, it's, if it's part of her set list, it's part of her set list, and she may not have really thought that deeply into it. And even with the initial reaction to the Instagram post, maybe she was just kind of playing along in the moment and didn't realize it struck a nerve. But I've since seen maybe some other social media activity that makes me think, oh, maybe it really was meant to be a troll. And in that case, yeah, it sucks. Because, what really sucks is that it hurt flau'jae's feelings. If you, I don't mean that in like she was hurt by it, I guess is the way I should put it. And it became a thing. It became a thing to the point where South Carolina addressed it. They put out a statement apologizing for it happening and apologizing to flau'jae and LSU, and they suspended the DJ for a game. Meanwhile, Kim Mulkey also talked about it after LSU's most recent game, which they played yesterday, and basically said, what South Carolina does is what South Carolina does, but my only concern is for flau'jae. I love her, and we've got her back. And that probably, between the South Carolina statement and South Carolina taking action and Kim Mulkey having spoken on it, I think the story, the book on it is closed now, but it did cause a lot of discussion over the weekend. So I wanted to put it on the table here as well for the topics we were going to get into, because, South Carolina is a prominent program, but they've also had a lot of I don't know if flau'jae used the word nastiness, and I don't want to attribute this to the program specifically. The program makes the decision on who they hire, and of course they're associated with it, but this was not done by any of the players or the coaching staff or anything like that. Regardless, it's not a good look for them or the reputation if this was done for the purpose that flau'jae believes it was done, and that social media post would indicate it was done for. And flau'jae also, I think, posted something else yesterday, more or less saying that only light can take away darkness. More, positive. I think she has closed the book on that as well. So it's not something that's going to keep going and going, but it did add another layer to what's going on between South Carolina and LSU, another layer to that game, and certainly caused some discussion over the weekend. So I was putting that on the table as well. The only other thing really today, Caitlin Clark did an interview with Swarmcast and 24/7 Sports. David Eichholt, I believe, is the person. And there wasn't anything particularly revelatory from it, but I had touched on the idea of her, the off-season training she's doing and having all of this off-season time to get right and get in the lab, and how that's going to be a rough look for the rest of the WNBA. She talked about Taylor Swift. I don't really care about that personally. And, Kate Martin, the idea of teaming up with Kate Martin in the future. I mean, she was joking around talking about recruiting Kate Martin, but nonetheless, clearly there's still a relationship there and, a deep rooted friendship there. And you can never close the book on something like that forever, right? Kate Martin is thriving in Unrivaled, by the way. More Unrivaled games tonight. You can talk Unrivaled if you want as well. And of course, please like, subscribe, chat, all those things. Hit that thumbs up button for me. And I will now get into the comment section, which is the purpose for a show like this in the first place. Let's go to this super sticker from Jeffrey Adida. Just thank you. Super sticker, appreciate it. Obviously, I appreciate any contributions to the channel in that manner through super chats, super stickers, and all the rest. It incentivizes more live streams and obviously is a way for you to show your support. Kevin Zwicker has been supporting from the beginning. Plum and Brink gonna be fire. Kevin's a big Kelsey Plum fan. I think there's a reason for it, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I mean, there's maybe a fine line between why he likes Kelsey Plum over other players. You could tell me if I'm getting hotter when I'm guessing why you like Kelsey Plum, Kevin, or if I'm pretty close. Let me know, because I know you're a fan of Kelsey Plum. I know that to be the case. All right, let's go to, I'll go back up to the beginning of the chat. This was the one I referenced before. Michael says blockbuster is a bit of a stretch, LOL. If that trade doesn't count as a blockbuster trade, what does count as a blockbuster trade? Honestly. I mean, how could that not be a blockbuster trade? What is your standard for a blockbuster trade if that is not a blockbuster trade? I mean, it's rare you see a trade that massive with those kind of players and assets on the move. 3 teams, multiple players, multiple all-stars, and the second overall pick in the draft that doesn't qualify as a blockbuster trade for you. We just have different definitions. Jacques Cousteau says, Robin, how is it that the NBA, NFL, WNBA, Unrivaled do not post the time zones of the game? These clowns believe we only have one time zone. Yeah, Eastern time zone, dog. You know that's the time zone of record. East Coast bias and all that. It's EST, like Bianca Belair. Look, I will say this. I'm in favor of one time. I want universal time. There's got to be an algorithm that can tell us what the best time is for the globe as a whole, like the fairest time for the globe as a whole. And we should just do that. Like, why do we have time? It's stupid. The concept is stupid because does it matter it's only like a construct of our mind. Does it matter what time of day it's light versus when it's not light? It's just like this idea of like, I was talking to Michelle Beadle about this on Mad Dog Sports Radio the other day. It's just like this idea of when you eat what food, right? Like you could eat breakfast food at dinner and dinner food at breakfast. Doesn't actually matter. Just kind of the habits and customs. So I would be in favor of getting rid of time zones. I'm also in favor of completely abolishing daylight savings time or whatever the hell it is that makes it dark at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Staying light a little bit longer now because generally before it was like dark now. I can still see the light peeking into my basement office here. By the way, I had somebody comment, and this is bothering me now, and I never noticed it. I guess there's a smudge above Wolverine there. It's actually on the wall, so it's not like I can just wipe it off. I guess I could paint over it, but maybe I'll put something there. Let me know what you guys would want there. Michael Gold with a super sticker. Appreciate it. Thank you. Of course, the super chats, stickers, all that stuff goes up first, y'all. Kevin Zwicker adds, any trade with all-stars and high picks is big. Yeah, I mean, like, you're kind of just being a dick to say that that's not a blockbuster trade. Oh, by the way, now that it went down to, I forgot. I forgot to get on my Petty Crocker, Richard Petty, Tom Petty, Petty in the Jets, Bruce Petty, you know, Bebop and Rock Petty. I forgot to get on that horse at the top of the show. I'm gonna do it now because I don't care. I did the Kelsey Plum thing, and if you weren't there when it first went down, I posted this, right? I posted this online. Kelsey Plum being on the move seems very possible via speculation from many reputable reporters. Innocuous ass tweet. It kind of blew up a little bit. As you can see, whenever this screenshot was taken, it had 36,000 views. Nothing like super viral, but something people saw. And that was because I had, just like I said with the Paige Beckers thing earlier in the show, I had seen from enough people where I'm like, okay. And then I saw actual like reports. Annie, who's the best reporter in the game, had put Kelsey Plum as, I think, number 1 on her list of available free agents. And Callie Flynn of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I think the name of the publication is, she covers the Aces and said Plum could be on the move. She didn't sign an extension. And ESPN had put out a free agency piece where at least 2 of their reporters mentioned Plum as a player that could be on the move. I did not expect this post to get any backlash. And then I wake up the next day and Miss Sarah Jane here had said sources. And then I replied and I said, there's actually a quote tweet of this where I included the links, but I said, I'm not reporting anything, but it was certainly presented like a realistic possibility in the ESPN free agent piece by Annie of the Chicago Sun-Times and Callie at Review-Journal. So citing the sources of my speculation. Then she goes, it's all pure speculation. Looking forward to hearing more information from all those incredible journalists, respectfully. All pure speculation, which I said here, speculation. And then I see today that, then she blocked me, by the way, after I replied politely and just defended myself respectfully. Apparently she blocked me. And then I saw this shared today from the same account. Can't make this up. I will say Annie Costabile has been the credible source all along. No shit. Anyhow, run me my receipts. There was also some other chick that's in the sphere of the WNBA space who called me a wannabe YouTuber in the midst of making her nonsense argument. Like I just woke up on YouTube talking about Caitlin Clark one day. This is nonsense. It did irritate me, so now I'm running my victory laps. I apologize. That's all I'll say about it. Ketty Porter says, glad Plum is leaving the Aces. Now I can pull for her and the Sparks. Oh, by the way, on what I just said, I'm not going to air nobody out publicly because they're being positive towards me. But if you saw the likes to some of my trolling about what happened there, it would be amusing to you. The people, they don't make likes public on X and Twitter anymore. And I'm not going to make these things public because I don't have the permission to share these things publicly. And I respect people and in conversation and peers. So I'm not, but if you saw the likes on those posts, you would get a smile on your face. The people got my back in this space because I just came through and crushed the buildings. That's all that happened. I came through and crushed the buildings. Lisa Diaz says, I would give up the pick and take Kelsey Plum. I think she will be a good leader for the Sparks. Yeah, I'm with you. I just said it. LBW says, so Sparks don't think much of Beckers and Miles. Well, here's the thing. Miles can also go back to school too, right? Like she has another year of eligibility. But either way, let me pose it this way. Let's just even say they both were available. What is the percentage chance that either Olivia Miles or Paige Beckers is better than Kelsey Plum? Not high. I mean, Kelsey's 30, so that could be your counter argument. But just like at their best, if they're better than Kelsey Plum at her best, what's the chances? I would say unlikely. Most players in the history of the league have not been as good as Kelsey Plum is. Eric Smith says, what do you think of Keita thinking the Sparks made a bad trade? Her opinion. I mean, I'll discuss it. I'll have a conversation about it with anybody. I'm not offended if someone thinks differently than me, especially about a damn trade in basketball. Michael Gold, who I think dropped the super sticker and said, I am a big UConn fan. Paige has said multiple times this is her last year. I guess the thinking is that she doesn't have to go to the WNBA and she can use the year of eligibility as leverage, even if she doesn't plan to go back to UConn. I'm assuming that's the thinking. I'm assuming. This was Michael who said the blockbuster trade thing. I understand you're new. You're probably, again, but like that's where the whole like you can't only think about Caitlin Clark criticism actually comes in, right? Because for anybody who now has any cursory knowledge of the WNBA, that's a massive trade. Colin McCaskill says no free agents want to play with the sky. They get everything to attract free agents, got rid of the coach, got freed of Kennedy Carter, and still no one wants to go there. Well, there haven't been that many free agent signings yet, but the organization still has a bit of a stench on it from what I understand, and they haven't gotten the new practice facility or anything like that. And it's not exactly like the roster's any good. Their roster's trash. The Sky's roster is no bueno. I mean, look, if I'm being blunt and honest, like what's the upside on the Sky right now? They've got no guards. Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese, to me, their games are not compatible, really. And Cardoso has more upside than Reese, but Reese is a bigger star than Cardoso. That's tough. Katie says, until Paige says she is staying again, I don't believe anything. She said straight up, this is my last season playing at UConn. That was before the lottery, but still, will believe it when I see it. No, I'm with you. I'm with you, Katie. But again, enough people are now saying it. Look, I know Howard. And even when I saw his report, I was like, word, really? Like, do I want to go with this or not? But because I know him and respect him, I went with it, right? And then Kevin Pelton wrote about it in his piece yesterday. He's not technically a reporter, but he put it in there. And I was like, that was weird. And then Annie put it in today. That's at least 3. Not to mention, I think Alexa from ESPN didn't directly reference Paige, but sort of like danced around it. So it's enough. Power Extreme says it might have been a different reaction from flau'jae had the Tigers won, I guess. I don't think so. Yeah, maybe because she wouldn't have been already, doubly upset, but it wouldn't have changed the intent if that was the intent. Nor, because it seems, having seen the social media posts, the DJ did apologize. Let me be fair to her. She did apologize, say it's part of her set list. She plays it all the time. And that very well may be the case. But the social media activity made it seem like it was used as like a bit of a, I don't want to say a diss necessarily, but a troll and instigation. So if that was the intent, that's the reason it was played when it was played. Max says LA Sparks got the prettiest starting lineup next season. I'll have to tap in. I made sure after those emojis, I had to double read that. I was hoping I didn't put the wrong thing up on the screen. Mr. Room Sawyer says, I'm yet to hear anyone explain what was wrong with playing the song. Okay, I'll explain it to you. If this was the intent, there is nothing wrong with playing the song. There is nothing wrong with the song being part of the set list. I would argue there was nothing wrong with playing the song during an LSU game, especially if you didn't think about it because it's part of your set list and you weren't over analyzing it to the point of, oh yeah, shit, that's flau'jae's dad, I shouldn't play it. Like, I get it. Nothing wrong. But if the intent of playing the song was to get under the skin or taunt someone using their dead father, you don't think that's wrong? Do I go make fun of you based on a tragedy in your family? That's what's wrong with it. If that's it's all about the intent in my mind. Not the event, but the intent. Miko says, do you think the Storm try to trade for a pick swap with the Wings and what would be accepted by the Wings? That's interesting. I mean, it seems like they're angling for it, given this reporting, for sure. Indiana been quiet so far. Everybody's been quiet so far. I mean, nothing has happened except for this trade. It'll start to come out. And the deals are official the 1st, so we're less than a week away from all this stuff being official. Kim Kelly says I was petty. CC Wilson Bow would cover the smudge nice. But, I guess how I have to mount that back there. But maybe. Just put a poster there. Be easy too. I'm hoping no one tries to hack away I mean, look, it was one play with Mike Wiseman. With Dejanay. Dejanay is a shit stirrer, let's be honest too. Her timing and stuff and what I'm not talking about it. I don't give a shit about the jacket she wore. Like, doesn't matter to me. I'm certainly not offended by it, but it was like basically red meat for red media. Ken Swift says Robin looks like speculation by Annie is acceptable unless you're a Sky fan, of course. Yes. Only me. Only me. Look, and it's funny because I ain't coming like trying to take nobody out or with any ill intent or with nothing but respect. But I also ain't going to just sit there and take it. And I also know what I've done and what I'm capable of. And I also know that I've made an impact. That's the most important thing. So thank you. Thank you for that. Shows you I shook it up. And we're going to fumigate that scene. Lisa Diaz says Mick called out this post for you too. He said, I guess Robin Lundberg had reputable sources. Yeah. Thanks to Mick. He seemed to be very supportive to me through this. Not that I needed actual support. Nothing actually happened. It wasn't a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like sitting here like, whoa, it's me. But, if you're going to do that to me publicly, it's only fair. Justin Bono says, does Angel get more points than personal fouls tonight? That last Angel performance was rough, yo. I like the fact that she's been in the gym and working on her game. I'm trying not to clown her or nothing like that. I'm really not. But it was rough, the last performance. And the more and more that continues, the more scared I would be about her basketball ability just not matching up with her profile. And I think that's got to be the real fear is, look, she's won at the college level. She has an incredible motor. She's got a new coach. She seems to be working on her game. She's got great teachers down at Unrivaled. So it's just 1 3-on-3 game. I'm not going to like overreact. But if she does not address the glaring issues in her game, if they do not improve, then she is at risk in the near future of her game just not being able to keep up with her profile. Chris Strawn says Sky have Angel and Camilla are the only players on contract in 2027. Both have upside. Yes, that's their biggest thing. I also do wonder how they can play together. Just knowing what I know about basketball, that is going to tighten up the floor. I don't see that much space on the floor with those two playing together. From what I heard, Plum is injured. That's why she didn't play on Rival and was traded, despite being number one contract for the number 2 pick. Are you crazy? She's not hurt. I don't know where you heard that. It's not a 1-year deal. Everybody's on a 1-year deal right now. But from all the reporting, Plum has indicated she is going to stay in Los Angeles long term. And she said publicly she didn't plan on Rival because she needed time for herself. So all of that is wrong. Sill says, can't believe Sparks trade number 2 for the 30-year-old vet and still might miss playoffs again. Well, who was talking about Olivia Miles before? And I like Olivia Miles, by the way. It's not Olivia Miles diss. Who was talking about Olivia Miles before a month and a half ago? And 30 years old, you act like that's ancient. I mean, at 30 years old, I'm thinking, okay, she's got 4 or 5 more years of her prime left. And again, the odds of whoever is picked at number 2 being better than Kelsey Plum are small. They're just small. Stern 12, a.k.a. Chris, says, Unrivaled exposes the girls who can't run and play. Now, the one thing I'll say to defend them a little bit is maybe it's not tailored towards bigs. So they're going to be exposed a little bit more, especially bigs who don't have like a versatile game. But yes, it's tough out there. You're out there on an island. You can't hide in Unrivaled, I guess is the way I would put it. Certainly can't hide. LBW says, as I predicted, Angel Reese exposed. I also predicted she will be traded. Let's see. Well, that's that's a mighty statement. That second one, we shall see. Basil, it's not wrong to call it a 1-year deal. Good God, Robin, making silly statements within 2 minutes of me joining the show. For the all intents and purposes, it is wrong. Yes, literally, it's not wrong. Literally, she was cored, so it is a 1-year deal. Every single person who has reported on this says behind the scenes, Kelsey Plum has indicated her desire to stay with Los Angeles long term. Do you think Los Angeles makes this trade without a handshake deal that Kelsey Plum is going to commit to them long term after this core deal? Come on. Let's use common sense for a second. So, for all intents and purposes, it is not a 1-year deal. It quite literally may be a 1-year deal. I'm just playing around, man. You don't have to curse me out. But for somebody who gives as much as you give, you can't like be that sensitive about it. I'll instigate with me all the time. Dixie Forbes, Gorby, who would want Angel Reese in her drama? Oh, I know, Asia. Does Angel have that much drama? I don't know if she has that much drama. I'm trying to think, like what? I mean, there's been the stuff with Clark, but I don't see drama too much. I don't think that's fair necessarily. David Tripp says, glad to see Plum got away from the real privilege. That is, I still think that was one of the strangest comments I've ever seen somebody say to another person. Even if there's, validity to the idea of white privilege and talking about it and having like discourse about it in a certain forum, for someone to say to another person who's their teammate and their friend, I love that you recognize your privilege. I never heard shit like that in my life. And I've been around a lot of folks of different races where I was the only one who looks like me. Just an odd comment. I don't even know what your voice sounds like, Basil. So Holly says, who won the trade? I say Seattle. I say Los Angeles. I say the Sparks won the trade. I think they will make a lot of money with Kelsey Plum. And I think Kelsey Plum will wind up the best player in the trade. So I say the Sparks won the trade. Justin said, you said last time there are WNBA stars who asked media to not mention Clark. Let me guess, Asia Wilson. No, I'm not saying that has not ever happened, but no, that did not happen with me. It was not Asia Wilson. There have been several instances, though, behind the scenes, and this is through a rep usually, not the person or player specifically, through a rep, where the topic of Caitlin Clark was asked to not be brought up, but it was not Asia Wilson. Marlene Smith, Kelsey Plum has had a rough personal year with a difficult divorce that has affected her decisions, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I think when you're talking about a change of scenery and stuff like that, that would only add to that, right? Of course. Makes sense. Seattle gets the number 2 overall pick for Lloyd is damn good. It very well may. I'm not saying it's not a good return for Lloyd. I agree with that. But I also think you have to look at the history of the WNBA draft. So many people came in with Caitlin Clark this year that I think it's kind of warped the thinking. It was a great rookie class in general, but especially with Caitlin, WNBA draft picks have not typically come in and just like lit up the league. That's not something that happens. And a lot of top picks have been out of the league within a year or two. Or let's say, I'll use Nalissa Smith as an example. She was the second pick in the draft. A lot of people want her out of Indiana now. It is far from a sure thing. The number, this is not, some sort of guaranteed thing. Michael says, you called me a dick. I wish I could make a poster out of that and hang it on my wall. LOL. By the way, I like your perspective on the W. Well, you can take a screen grab of this. I'll wait right here. Or maybe I'll leave the KD one so you can get the you got 10 seconds. All right, you can hang that on your wall if you want, but I meant that in a nice way. Thank you for your participation in the show. Max says LA is going to be lit. Kim Kelly says Smith playing Unrivaled has not been good so far. I don't think Nalissa Smith is very good. I mean, I think Unrivaled is a terrible format for her. But overall, I just don't think she's very good. She can't shoot. She doesn't make good decisions with the basketball. She doesn't have a particularly great motor. Just don't think she's very good. Marlene Smith with the super sticker. Thank you, Marlene. I appreciate it. Thank you all for the participation and the contributions. Of course, please like, subscribe, all those good things. I have a column on the Kelsey Plum trade up on Women's Fastbreak on SI if you want to read that. If you want to catch up on the flau'jae South Carolina LSU story I just mentioned, you can read up on that there, as well as what Caitlin Clark said in her interview today. You can read up on that there. And as always, any work we take from anybody else or use any people, it is always referenced. I will always link it either in written form or, of course, here in the description. I'm very sensitive to try and make sure I properly cite and give credit where it is due as well. That's actually a pretty high compliment, Katie. I got you through the treadmill workout. I know what those are like. Like I get bored working out inside and it's cold here, so it's tough right now. Plus I had my back injury, but my back's feeling better, by the way. Definitely feeling better. Charles Anderson, stick to sports, Robin. You can't have universal time. It would be dark at noon on one side of the world, daylight at noon on the other side of the world. I'm saying there's got to be an algorithm that figures out the best possible time for that works the best for all people. Because it's not like you and I can do work, on the time in China or Israel right now without it being problematic. So if there was some median time that worked the best across the globe, we would just, you just have to change your perspective on like what time of day means what for you. Because whether or not it is light at AM or PM, you could still that would be the whole. I'm not the scientist or the numbers guy. I just feel like there's got to be something. Because right now, does it work to have time zones where what time is it in China right now? What time is it in China right now? 6:17 a.m., right? So it would have been noon and middle of the night over there. It already is what you're saying. Your concept already is the case. Justin says, it seems like Satu wants to go to NYC. What does the Fever do now? Oh, I mean, look, there are many options for the Fever. Satu, it's not Satu or bust. Number one is Kelsey Mitchell. We got to figure out what happens there. And then beyond that, there are so many different options. Natasha Howard with the Wings as well. Overseas, Emma Miesemann maybe. I mean, there's lots of the Fever do not need to make a huge move to have a successful offseason. Max says, is flau'jae declaring for the draft? I would guess so, given she did broach that subject on her podcast and everything. But I think she has time to make the decision as well. It's probably dependent, to be honest, on how she finishes the season and plays in the tournament. That would be my guess. But if I had to put money on it, like if I had to make a guess right now, I would say yes. Sean Davis, Royal Rumble winner predictions. Okay, so one dark horse I would say is Jey Uso after losing, just because of how over he is and how heroic a moment that would be. But my official predictions are John Cena and Charlotte Flair. I think we get throwback winners at the Rumble to set up that John Cena-Cody Rhodes match and Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. But the men's side is so stacked, it's hard to tell because Roman could win it, obviously. Punk could win it, obviously. I mean, that is a super stacked men's side, maybe the most star-studded of all time. Capri Bank says, more content from you is needed. I mean, if you can figure out a way to get me more, let me know. I try to make a lot of it. I'm hosting the Bleacher Report streams Thursdays at 2 p.m. now every week. That's NCAA women's basketball. I do the SmackDown post show with Denise Salcedo on Friday nights for those of you who are wrestling fans. I was on Busted Open this past Saturday, Mad Dog Sports Radio this past Friday. I'll be on Mad Dog again some point next month. I forget the date. But I am constantly trying to give you guys content on this YouTube channel and keep Women's Fast Break on SI up to date with the latest news. So, and my thoughts and opinions. But yes, people want to give me paychecks, I'll give them content. Who is my favorite women's wrestler? Right now, Rhea Ripley. Right now. I didn't say fake wrestling is a sport. When did those words come out of my mouth that wrestling is a sport? It is not a sport. I love it. It is an awesome form of entertainment. And wrestler will slap you in the face for calling it fake, by the way. Predetermined, whatever, but you can't fake some of the punishment these guys take. And just, I just have seen wrestlers slap people in the face for calling it fake. But nonetheless, no one has called it a real sport. I've never called it a real sport. Sports entertainment. Al Francisco, who do you think the Fever drafted the number 8 pick? I got no idea. I got to see who's available there, right? Like you got to see how the draft shakes out, who's actually in there. I mean, Citrone has been linked to them. I would love AZ Fudd on the Fever, but I don't think she falls that far. David Steele makes a good point. If you discontinue use of AM and PM and strictly just a 24-hour clock, I see no issue with Yes, exactly. Why do we need an AM and a PM? David S says, do you think the Fever have a chance at picking up Della Don? Not, I mean, I have not heard anything about Della Don coming back. If she would, that would be a huge acquisition for anybody, particularly the Fever, obviously. But I haven't heard anything about it or any actual reporting about it. Sil says, flau'jae to Chicago, please no. Miko, Lauren Betts is also eligible. She's crushing it right now. Everyone expects her to stay at UCLA because of her sister. I don't know if it's worth it. Yeah, I mean, Lauren Betts is a beast, no question. I would have her top 3 for National Player of the Year at worst right now. Katie, yeah, I think it depends on free agency too. I think the Fever need a 4, right? They need a 4. They need another wing, and they need a reserve guard. Those are the 3 areas of need. And, some toughness and rebounding in the process of those players. But those are areas of need for sure. I have not seen much information at all on the Fever, to be honest. They're running a tight ship. Apparently, the president was over in Paris or whatever on the phone and whatnot, but I have heard nothing about the Indiana Fever. I see a lot of questions. I've heard literally nothing. Other than the Kelsey Mitchell stuff that we've all talked about a bunch. But of actual import and connecting dots or rumors or whatever, I've heard nothing. Yeah, Fever close to the vest. For sure. Well, look, they got a whole new organization, whole new regime and everything. All right, guys, that'll probably about do it for me today. Please get your likes, subscribes, and comments in. I'll stay on for another minute or two for any other comments that come in before I officially wrap up. But just letting you know, we are winding down here. I do think Haley Van Lith, well, she's playing her way into possibly be drafted. She'll definitely be drafted beyond the first round. But she'll get drafted. You're welcome. WNBA offseason is too damn long, man. It's nuts. We got another whole, starting today would be an offseason, right? If the offseason started today, it would be an offseason. Now we got a whole nother offseason that's already happened. It's they got 2 off seasons back to back. Long ass off season. One of the reasons Unrivaled makes so much sense. I'm on edge. I don't think I'm on edge. I might be a little tired, but I hope I didn't come across as on edge. I'm not on edge. Yes, fantasy football winner. Thank you for throwing this comment in there. Wanted to give recognition to Team Coding? Whose motion did it increase? Taylor's or Caitlin's? That's the question. My back is a little better. Joint still hurts though. Katie, I do think, yes, they already have started slowly expanding it. But I think that's also, that's like a direct statement from Unrivaled as part of their mission statement is an extension essentially of the WNBA season, which makes sense. Or, to alleviate that break in the offseason. Because Alex Bizzell, the president of Unrivaled, told me, I have to check the exact numbers myself, but that even with Unrivaled, the only sport that has a longer offseason is the NFL, and they punish each other in the NFL, obviously. Marcus says LA freed Kelsey Plum. I think Kelsey Plum's going to do well for sure. Al Francisco Lexi is getting playing time on Unrivaled, and she's doing good. Yep. She did play well the other night, that's for sure. She just does all that stuff well without the ball. I don't know if CC benefited from a marketing perspective by meeting with Swift. I think the real statement is that you don't go, oh, there's Taylor Swift with that basketball player. You say there's Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark. Thank you for joining this great session, David. All right, y'all. That'll do it for me here today. Obviously, I'll get another one at least in this week, another live show in this week. Make sure you follow all the videos on the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe as well and all that stuff. And until next time, eat.